Hey everybody, Bree Mott here. Happy Thursday. We threw a curveball at you and we changed our date and I guess the time is the same, but thanks for tuning in. I've got Steve Coxon here from USA Steeplechase, and we have the wonderful Sandra Webb, who is a trainer for steeplechase racing. She has two at Tryon, which we'll be covering, and you're getting a live look because she's in the rig right now, driving the horses. Well, she's not driving, just relax, but in the rig riding as they go to Tryon. Sandra, how are you doing? Thank you so much for popping on.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be on and talk about the horses.
We're excited to have you. She's going to tune in and out and mute just because of sound, but Steve, we've got here, and we're waiting for Craig Braddick, who is popping in as well. Let's see if we can get him in here. Craig, we got you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Perfect. Yay! Hey, Craig, how you doing?
I'm pretty good, and you?
I'm good. So Craig, myself, and Steve were the inaugural steeplechase live stream. So I'm happy to have the gang back for another one and cover what's coming up this weekend, which is Tryon and My Lady's Manor. And of course, we have Sandra here to talk all about Tryon. But what are you excited about this, Steve?
Sorry, Britt, you're free.
We'll try it one more time. What are you most excited for this weekend? We're feeling
well, I'm looking forward to some great racing at Tryon this weekend. We've got 4 jumps races, a training flat race, the big race of the day. The 4th race looks to be an exciting ratings hurdle as well. A field of 9 going to post. Then up north, of course, we've got the My Lady's Manor races, the timber races up in Maryland, the first part of the Maryland Triple Timber. So a lot of things to look forward to this weekend. And of course, the Grand National in the UK as well.
That's right. And our last host was here last time, Megan Connolly. She is overseas seeing the Grand National in person. So hopefully if you're following her on Twitter, she'll be posting a lot there, but we'll get a recap from her next weekend ahead of the Middleburg races. So Steve, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yes. Perfect, Bree.
What are you most excited for this weekend?
Well, from a personal front, we actually have a horse running in the maiden hurdle at Tryon, Agitaire, who we tried on the flat over the winter time. He disliked the starting stalls immensely, so he got a little bit nervous. So now this was the original plan, was to run him over jumps. So we're going to try him over the jumps, over the hurdles this Saturday. So we're excited for that one.
Well, awesome. And Sandra, we'll go to you. So I'm sure you have lots to be excited for, maybe nervous, but tell us what you're feeling as you try to on.
Well, currently I am a 2-horse string, so I'm sending both my horses to Tryon this weekend. So it's very exciting for me. Hopefully this will generate a few more horses for me as well. But I'm very excited to see how they run. The course looks beautiful. And yeah, I'm looking forward to
it. So Steve, why don't you touch on some of the races at Tryon, and then let's talk about the track in general, the venue and the track layout.
Sure. So as Craig mentioned, the big race is the Ratings Hurdle, which is probably the most competitive race of the year so far. Mm-hmm. I know Kerry has 3 going down there. I believe Leslie has 2. Jack has 2. So it's a repeat of topic changes back. So we're going to see hopefully a new and improved topic changer. And Craig is actually going to be calling the races. So Craig, are you there now, Craig?
No, I'm still in Arizona at the moment. I'll fly out tomorrow morning.
And did you do this meet last year?
I did not. I was going to do it in 2019, but there were some contractual problems with who they had before. And then, of course, COVID hit and yada, yada, yada. And last year wasn't a good time with other stuff I had going on. But I'm really happy to go there this year. It'll be my first look at the track. I know it's a right-handed track. It's not like an oval shape like many US racetracks are. It's more of a sort of elongated circle, if you will. It's slightly undulating. It goes uphill and downhill. You're going to need a horse who not only can accelerate up and downhill, but also handle some of the turns. They're pretty tight at Tryon, and there's a short run to a lot of the fences off the turns as well. So seeing good stride into the fences will be paramount for a lot of these horses, especially the younger ones. Not so much in the big race, the racing's handicap hurdle, but in the other races, this is going to be a great learning experience for them. Running on different terrain, up and downhill, with other horses in a competitive environment, you can train all you like for that, but the real test of a horse is when you put them on the racetrack. And for a lot of these horses, it'll be their first time seeing a track of this nature. So it should make for a very competitive day of racing.
Awesome.
Let's go to Sandra. Sandra, what do you like about this track, this surface? What do you like about the venue in general, and what makes you nervous as a trainer?
I like the course because it does have the good hills. It's not flat. Like you need a proper steeplechase horse to handle this course. And they've done such a good job over the past couple of years of really putting the irrigation system in. They've taken care of the turf, so it's very inviting for to send a horse down here. You do need a pretty good jumper to handle it, so it helps if you have one that's a bit careful. But yeah, I think it's a good spot to look my horses.
So you've got Whiskey Warrior in the first, which is a maiden. So, and you think it's a good spot. So is this the one that we're going to break our maiden here?
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I took him to Old Dominion Point to Point last week as a prep in his first start, just to get him around. Barry John fully rode him and just took it easy on him because we thought we had the option of potentially running him back this weekend. And he handled it really well, so it seemed like the right place to send him.
All right. And so then your other horse is in the third race, Seizing the Dream. What do we like about that horse?
Seizing the Dream has really taken to jumping. When we took him to Callaway, he won by 14, which was just, I wasn't expecting. I knew he would run well, but I really wasn't expecting that. And after having a little bit of time off this winter, he's really learned to love. He loves jumping. He loves his job, and he attacks the hurdles. We had a final hurdle school this week before coming down, and Barry John comes back with a huge smile on his face because the horse is an absolute professional. And I think he'll really like to. I think Tryon is a little similar with the hills as Callaway Gardens, and so I think he'll like the track. So.
Greece. To tell you that she didn't see the final furlong when Seizing the Dream won because she was crying so much.
Who is that? Sandra?
Sandra, yeah, because Seizing the Dream was her first ever winner.
I was absolutely bawling my eyes out because I was just over the moon, and I was on the phone with one of his owners, and she could barely understand what I was saying, and it was quite the scene, I guess. So, and I got recorded the entire time. Somebody videoed me crying. So,
of course. Well, hopefully you're one of the rare few that is a pretty crier rather than an ugly crier. I'm a straight ugly crier. My whole face goes red. So if there's cameras, I need to find a corner or something. But that's an amazing story. I'm excited to see both of them run. Any other questions on the horses for her, Steve? I know you want to know. You want to get ready.
I do, because Sandra, so Whiskey Warrior is an interesting one because we're talking about these jump horses are actual thoroughbreds. Whiskey Warrior was a John Kimmel horse. Is that right, Sandra?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Whiskey Murray was running over the flat in a maiden claimers, and then Sandra went and claimed him. And my question to Sandra is what stood out about that horse that you thought he would turn into a good jumper?
I bought him. I didn't claim him. I went to John about him. I really liked his breeding, and I think every trainer has their own preference. They like their certain, sires and breeding. And he's by point of entry. He's by Dynaform. I find Dynaformers to be make very good jumpers. And he hasn't been raced a lot. He ran 6 times in the flat, which is nice because he hasn't been beat up. And you can tell he was a trier, but not quite wanting to doing what he was doing. And I got a great insight from John when I called him about him, because he said the last time he ran, he wasn't tired. He drugged the groom back to the barn, which just tells me that he wants to go farther. So.
Well, good luck this weekend. What about Grand National? I mean, you've got to be following a little bit over there. Who is your pick for the Grand National? Do you have one?
I don't actually have a pick. To me, the Grand National is such a, it's anybody's game, in my opinion. So I did watch Constitution Hill, but I've been a little sidetracked with Tryon. This is my world at the moment. So.
Fair enough. I'm sure your owners, jockeys are happy to hear that. So, well, good luck this weekend. I'll let you go, Craig. Steve, do you have any other questions for Sandra? We've got her on here.
Just like to wish Sandra good luck with her horses. I do agree with her about seizing the dream. The track at Pine Mountain in Georgia, where the horse won at the end of 2022, is indeed pretty similar to the track here at Tryon, North Carolina. Just looking through his old past performances, he had a little bit of a break in February of last year when he ran on the flat at Gulfstream and bounced back 5 months later at Belmont in a fairly competitive 30,000 claimer on the turf, and finished 5th, beaten less than 3 lengths. So that suggests to me, Sandra, that this horse runs well when fresh, when he's had a little bit of a layoff.
Yeah, I think he looks like $1 million right now. I posted a picture of him on Twitter, and he's like a shiny copper penny right now, so he's feeling good, and I think it'll bode well for him this weekend. So
let me try. I'm finding Sandra's Twitter so we can throw it up here. There we go. SG Webb 9. I'll throw it up here on the live stream in case anybody wants to follow. Give me a second. But take a look and follow Sandra SG Webb 9. Put it up there. Boom. There you go. If you want to take a look at Sandra's horses ahead of Tryon tomorrow, right there is where you follow her on Twitter, and get in the game, guys. It'll be fun. All right, Sandra, thank you so much. Good luck this weekend. I know I'll be
well, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
I feel like that's quite a flex to be riding with your horses onto the racetrack and hitting a live stream. With or without the audio, a huge flex. We all can't do that.
Absolutely. And Sandra has 2 horses. That's her entire barn that she's taken down.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. She only started training. She took a license out last year. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so brand new trainer, 2 horses, one coming from the flat to the jumps for the first time, but went to point last weekend, right? Isn't that what she said?
Yes, I believe it did. Yeah. And okay. She's running back. He's running back this week. And I've selected him for the 3rd race. So.
Oh, okay. Yep. So if you're tuning in for the first time, we just had Sandra Webb, the trainer, on. She has 2 horses running at Tryon. In the first race, she has Whiskey Warrior, which is a maiden horse. And then in the 3rd race, she's got Seizing the Dream. So take a look at those 2. Very exciting to to watch her horses run. And as Steve said, pretty much a new trainer. She took her trainer's out license last year, and these are 2. So, I mean, what a better story to cheer on.
Correct. Sandra was actually the assistant to Jack Fisher. So she was responsible for working Snap Decision. So you'll see photographs of Snap Decision walking into the paddock looking like he's ready to win the whole thing. And Sandra's trying to hold him back there. So it's a wonderful photograph. I'll have to find it next time we're on.
I get it. Well, anybody that is here, feel free to drop a hello in the chat and where you are from and where you're listening from. We just want to say hello and thanks for tuning in. We are covering 2 of the races this weekend. We have Tryon in North Carolina and My Lady's Manor, which is in
Maryland.
Thank you very much. My Lady's Manor is a timber. And I actually think that we should have a sound when we do timber races, like timber, and then we talk about them. But we'll get Megan to do that when she gets back from her extravaganza overseas. So should we just dive in a little bit to Tryon?
Yeah, I thought we were going to talk about the Grand National first.
Oh, we can do that. I got a tip on a horse now.
Okay.
I got a tip. Usually run far away from these tips, but I'm told fugitive.
Ooh.
Oh, Craig was like, oh, but he came back.
Yeah. I'm not sure he'd win if he started now, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. So what else about Grand National? Have either of you been to the Grand National? Of course.
I've been back in the 1990s. I was helping one of the radio commentators as a spotter, but I've worked at the meet or really been there as a fan. I've been to Aintree at other times. From a spectator viewpoint, the Grand National is not one of the easiest races to watch just because of the configuration of the course. Here in the United States, if we all remember the triangular course at Fair Hill in Maryland, it's very much like that in shape. It's around 2.25 miles long, and so it's very difficult from the top of the old county stand. I'm not even sure if they have the county stand at Aintree any longer. Shows how long it's been since I was there. But I mean, you can just about see to the 4th or 5th fence, and then you really don't see them again until they come over what would be the final open ditch down the back straight, and then the 3rd last back over the Melling Road and onto the race course itself. So there's a map of the course right there, and you see the grandstand would be on the bottom left. If you're in the grandstand, the red dot is where they start. They start with their backs to you. They run out across the Melling Road there, which is about, before the first fence. That's a public road 365 days a year. And they jump the first 2 fences. Usually they'll be going full speed when they jump the first 2. The 3rd fence is a large open ditch. It is really the first testing fence of the course, and over the years it's caught out many quality horses. I think of a couple of Cheltenham Gold Cup winners who have succumbed there in the past. And then they go out. Fences 4 and 5 are plain fences. Fence number 6 is Beecher's Brook. Fence number 7 is the Foynehaven fence, where they had a catastrophic pile up in 1967, named for the eventual winner. 8 is the Canal Turn, but they have to jump at a 90-degree angle. Was a huge pile up there back in 2001. Then number 9 is Valentine's Brook. Not maybe the fence it used to be. Has a little brook on the landing side, which is more or less filled in nowadays, and is not too difficult to fence. Then fence number 10 is another plain fence. Fence 11, which on the last circuit is fence number 27, is often one that catches horses out who are tiring towards the end of the race. It's the last open ditch. Then they jump another plain fence back around over the Melling Road and around onto the main track, where they'll have 2 fences, and then the cherry open ditch in front of the grandstand, followed by the water jump, and then they go out and do it all over again.
So how many times they go around? Twice?
Twice.
And yeah. This is 4 miles, correct?
4 miles, 856 yards, so just under 4.5 miles.
I'm not even sure that I could run 856 yards. Maybe in my younger years. Well, that was really cool for you to talk through the jumps. So you can see a picture here with a grandstand, which is obviously, when you looked at this course map, a very small fraction of what the horses are running here.
Yes.
Fascinating, completely different from flat racing, grueling, which they say that this is the most grueling race in steeplechase history, which is why it is as big as it is.
Mm-hmm.
How big are the jumps?
I was just going to chime in. There's a big debate in England at the moment, Brie, about the Grand National, because back in the 80s and 90s, when Craig was watching the races, the fences were much stiffer, much stiffer. The drops were much steeper. They've softened the fences, to say, and they've made the drops a little shallower. And I think that's a good thing, because, as Craig said, there was races where, there'd be 4 and 5 finishers out of 40. Those days are long gone, but I think it's for the better. 100%. 100%.
Yep. Safety of the horses come first, for sure. Absolutely. That is what the NSA does here every day, is making sure that the horses are looked after, and they do a tremendous job of it. So I'm with it. Yep. I'm with it fully. So we did have somebody that I feel like should know who the winner is.
Yeah.
Hendricks coming in with Cocoa Beach.
Well, the reason he's picking Cocoa Beach is because he rode him for Gordon Elliott in Navan over the, I think it was in November. Ran a tremendous race, jumped like a stag. And then I think Cocoa Beach, I think it was either Puncheston or Leopardstown, he won last time out. So if anyone should know, it's Parker. So there's the inside scoop.
Oh, and Parker, personal apology for screwing your name up in the little video that you did. That was me. That's on this girl. I owe you, I don't know, whenever I meet you, I'll give you like a beer or a donut, something, as an apology. So shout out there. All right, anybody else put your winners in here? We want to see what other opinions are. What's up, Steve?
Telling Parker to stick to jump racing instead of acting?
I think one of the things I love about the Grand National is you get horses who become specialists at the course. It's a course unlike any other in world steeplechasing, and you often get horses who start out there as young, 7, 8 years old, and they'll go around 4 or 5 times during their career until they're 12 or 13. And one young horse who I think may be on that kind of trajectory is Mr. Incredible, who's only 7 years old. To me, this horse seems fairly unexposed, well weighted as well. I'd like to see this horse do well. I'm not entirely convinced he's going to win, but I certainly think he has a chance of getting in the top 4. I really like Our Power as well, who's the only horse in the field going for a hat trick. And what I did like about Our Power is the fact he didn't run at Cheltenham a few weeks ago. He's had a little bit of a rest. He ran the 2 races he ran. One was at Ascot, one was at Kempton Park. Both the fences at Ascot and Kempton are a fair test of any horse. And that race at Ascot in the past used to be maybe not so much so nowadays, but that used to be quite a good testing race for horses heading back to the Grand National back in my day. And I'd love to see Our Power do well. Delta Work as well seemed handicapped awfully well. How he is 1 pound lower in a handicap this year than last year is one of these great mysteries to me. And I'd love to see Delta Work get involved in the race. But for me, Our Power, I think, is going to be my main pick. And I think Mr. Incredible could be one of those long line of horses who will, in future years, continue to improve around the intrigue.
Okay, so I'm bringing up the entries here from At the Races website, so you can hit this website up for actually entries all over the world. But if you're brand new, as I am realistically, to the Grand National, there are a plethora of entries here, 40 horses in this race, so I can't even share on one screen. But here's Cocoa Beach that Parker was referencing. And where's the one you were referencing here?
Mr. Incredible, Our Power, and Delta Work were the ones I was looking at. Yeah.
Yep. So Mr. Incredible is right here. But yeah, there are 40 horses to pick your favorite for the race on Saturday for the Grand National. Steve, I mean, I feel like you do pretty well here picking winners. So who are we looking at for you?
I'm going very boring pick. I'm going to go for last year's winner, Noble Yates. He's the type of horse that's running the Gold Cup. He's He's just behind that top class, but he's running on in 3 mile races. 3 mile races are essentially not far enough for him. So in the Gold Cup, he was off the bridle halfway around the track, but he was still running on and running on. And, you know, he's that type that he can jump the Aintree fences, as he proved last year. He's going to pick his way through the track. I know he's got a lot of weight on him, but I just think I love that. Like Craig said, I love the horses that have proven and been there and done that. And then if we've got to go for the American horse, well, the American owner. Craig, help me out with this pronunciation. Pierre Manigault?
Yes, correct.
All right. So he owns Cape Gentleman. Interesting story. He went out and bought Cape Gentleman because his great-great-grandfather won the Grand National in 1923. So it's 100 years to the day that they won the Grand National with a horse called Sergeant Murphy. So they went out and bought a horse just for this race, and they put him with Shark Hanlon, of course. Why not? So Shark Hanlon is taking Cape Gentleman over from Ireland to run in this race. And if he wins, there won't be a pub left in Liverpool that has not been touched. So I'd like to see it just for the scenes of Shark Hanlon winning the Aintree Grand National. I think that would be a wonderful affair. So my heart goes for Shark Hanlon's Cape Gentleman, but my head goes for Noble Yates.
And also with Cape Gentleman, I mean, he's still a very young horse. He's only 7 years old. So he has a great future ahead of him. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I think it'll be an achievement for him to get round. And if he does, I think his connection should be very happy. Indeed, it'll show that the horse enjoys running around Aintree. There's a lot of questions about the horse's stamina to go to 4.5 miles. I can see him being quite keen in the early stages, and I would be very interested to see whether his jockey takes him to the outside early on to try and avoid some of the mayhem that happens on the inside, where generally speaking, the bolder jumpers tend to go. But the disadvantage of going to the outside at Aintree is not only do you lose a lot of ground, but the way how the track has been configured in more recent years, there's escape chutes for loose horses towards the outside of the fences as well. And that perhaps makes going wider a little more of a tricky proposition, in that some of the loose horses tend to stream further and fan out wider in front of the fences than perhaps in years past. But again, I think this is a horse who, if he likes Aintree, could well come back in years to come. Some of you may know that aside from my work as a racing announcer, I'm also a television archivist. And the 1923 Grand National was, in fact, the first Grand National to be fully covered by Parfait Newsreel. And they made a 15-minute program covering the 1923 Grand National that the following week would have been shown around cinemas in the UK and theatres. And so it's nice we have that, that centenary as well. But amazingly, it wasn't until 1960 that the Grand National was first covered on television. And although you cannot see it at Aintree nowadays because there's a golf course there was a time when within the infield of the Grand National course, there was actually a Formula One track. and they had Formula One racing at Aintree and rallying, I think certainly until the late 1950s, and maybe it survived into the early 1960s as well. So originally, the Grand National, when it started in 1837, was run at Maghull, just outside Liverpool, and then in 1839 it moved to its current home at Aintree, and that was the year when Captain Beecher fell into the brook at the Sixth Fence, and that became Beecher's Brook.
I feel like that's a huge knowledge drop right there.
That's why we bring him on the show, Bree.
I know.
Goodness.
I like it a lot. Beaches Brook. All right. I feel like, by the way, as you were talking, I feel like my tip is bad. I can't even find Fugitive on this list. So is my tip terrible and the horse doesn't even run in this race and I need to tell this person to never give me a tip for a live stream again? Or what am I missing?
Well, they had 50. There was 50 entered as of like a few days ago, and then they
Yeah.
down to 40. So you might just not have made the list.
No, he's fired. He's out. He's out of the list. He's off. He's off the email list. He's off the tip list. He's out.
And Bree, you can see Cape Gentleman's 100 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
100 to 1.
Yeah,
well, and this is pretty cool. They give you a forecast of,
all the odds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your favorite's going to start like 6 or 7 to 1 as a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That's how wild this race is.
And we've got over here Cocoa Beach is 31. Flatterer, whoever Flatterer is dropping knowledge too. I like it. Odds Checker as the favorites. Coach Rambler, Delta Work, Noble Yeats. So Noble Yates or Yeats? Yates runs. He won last year. Is that what you said?
He did. He won last year. Yeah.
Incredible. And back again. Well, it'll be a pretty exciting race to watch. So, these Europeans, 17:15. So we're looking at 5:15 p.m. 5 forward. So 12:15.
Yeah, 12:15 Eastern time, 9:15 Pacific.
You should be able to watch that on any of the regular horse racing streams if you've got TVG, FanDuel, television, wherever it be. Speaking of, we'll talk about live streams, and we are going to hit on the Stable Duel contest that is starting next weekend. We haven't announced publicly, but we are postponing for various reasons. Guys, it's for your own safety. I can't tell you. There's powers that be, and I'm just protecting you, so I can't tell you the reasons. It's for your own safety. But we're postponing for next weekend for Middleburg. We are kicking off the Stable Duel contests, and we will have the live stream in the app that is on the NSA website, nationalsteeplechase.com. So you can watch these races live on the NSA website, or you can click watch live in the Stable Duel app to watch them as well. Very exciting to show these races to you live. And you'll hear more of Craig's beautiful voice as he calls the majority of these jump races. So very exciting. So should we roll on? Should we roll on to the races here since we've covered the national? All right. So let me stop the screen. We'll go. So we have Tryon this weekend and My Lady Manor. Unless Craig has all the knowledge to drop on My Lady's Manor, we will talk a lot about Tryon since that is more expertise in this group, not mine at all, mind you. But we have 5 races at Tryon. Let's start with race number 1. It is a maiden claiming for $20,000. We have 6 horses in. And again, Sandra's got one of hers in here, Whiskey Warrior, which we already covered on. Let's start with you, Steve. Who do you like in this race and why?
I probably can pick the Grand National winner before I can pick the winner of this race. It's like, give me the darts and let me shoot at it because I really have no idea. Kerry's got a horse in this called Bless Bless that is running over the hurdles for the first time. It's really a crapshoot this race. I'm pulling for Sandra. I hope Sandra's Whiskey Warrior as well. It's the type of race there's no standouts. A couple of horses are dropping in class, and then 3 or 4 of them are running over hurdles for the first time. So unless Craig has any greater knowledge than I do, I'm going for Grey Lover is my first pick. But really, anyone can win this, to be honest. Your thoughts, Craig?
I agree with you. Obviously, we have 4 in the field jumping a fence for the first time in public.
Right.
From a pace perspective, I think it's a fairly safe bet. Number 3, Grey Lover, will go out into an early lead. It'll be interesting to see if any of the other horses skipping over fences for the first time will follow suit. What I think is going to happen is I think the number 3, Grey Lover, is going to go out on the lead. The other 5 are going to tuck in behind, but I think they're going to go a good pace here. And the reason I think they're going to go a good pace is when you've got young, inexperienced horses, especially in the early stages of a jumps race, if you can get them up to speed early, it kind of takes into account them making 1 or 2 minor blunders at fences. Just the momentum itself keeps them going. So the jockeys will be able to maybe spread out a little bit, fan out at the fences, give their horses a good look at the fences, use it as a learning experience. That being said, I think if those tactics play out, number 3, Grey Lover, in the end will be collared, and I'm going to go for the number 1, Bless with Parker Hendricks on board. Obviously, we haven't seen this horse out over jumps before. We haven't even seen the horse on a race course since the beginning of November. But Parker's in good form at the moment. Kerry Bryan, I know, has a number of horses at Tryon on Saturday, so I'm going to go for the 1, Bless over the 3, Grey Lover, and then the 5, Whiskey Warrior. I love the fact that Barry Foley is riding this horse, as Sandra said earlier. We'll just have to see how we do on debut, but it's a difficult race to pick the winner out of. I'm going to go for the number 1, Bless, but it's certainly a race. If you're a new fan to jumps racing, get your notebook out, have a look at how these horses jump, and if one catches your eye, keep an eye on it for the next time it runs. You could be ahead of the game.
So maybe we should have led with that. You don't have to pick the horses of the people that are listening. There's no pressure. So just because Carrie and Parker are here, you don't have to pick the horses publicly. It'll be
Carrie's chiming in. Great.
Yeah. So Carrie said about Bless Best, he ran at Warrington, so this is not his first hurdle start.
I beg your pardon.
Sorry.
First sanctioned hurdle start.
All right.
Darts. I say darts. Throw a dart at the screen and come up with one of them.
Carrie, I'm a fan, but I gotta go with Whiskey Warrior here. I gotta cheer Sandra on. So I'll cheer you on for a second, though. Okay.
If Carrie is there, was that start at Warrington in a point-to-point?
Yes.
See if she answers. He ran it.
Okay, yeah, because it's not on my my past performances.
Yeah, it's a point-to-point. Yeah.
Okay. So he's seeing a race course under rules for the first time, as we would say, where I come from.
So explain, since we're bringing this up, explain what point-to-point actually means, because we've heard that a couple times on live streams and we've seen it on Twitter a little bit. So when someone says, at the point-to-point this weekend, or he ran last weekend at point-to-point, what does that mean? Either one.
So point-to-points are basically non-sanctioned races by the NSA. So last week at Old Dominion, they had a point-to-point meet, but 3 of the races were actually NSA races, which there was purse money for. The other point-to-point, which are essentially training races,
okay,
non-sanctioned. They're big in Ireland and England as well. But sometimes in Ireland, the winners of the point-to-point will go to the sales and fetch $200,000, $300,000, go to the big yards in Ireland and England, and then they run over sanctioned races. So it's sort of like a training environment for these horses. So Bless ran at the point-to-point. I think Warrington was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. The other thing I would add is point-to-points are for amateur jockeys, and traditionally in the UK and Ireland, and to a large degree, at least in Virginia and Maryland here in the US, they're organized by hunt clubs, fox hunting clubs, and they're responsible for staging the events, and often the horses you get in them are horses that hunt with that particular that particular hunting organization, and the members of the hunt club are often also the jockeys in these point-to-point races. It can be difficult at times here in the US to assess point-to-point form, comparing it to sanctioned race form. For one thing, Old Dominion last weekend was a bit of an exception. We don't often see sanctioned races run over point-to-point style courses, and vice versa. And then the second thing about that would be the point-to-points themselves often have very skilled amateur riders. I mean, don't think this is like, sort of amateur hour crazy stuff. It isn't. Often they have very experienced horsemen riding there, and it's a great breeding ground for the future. As Stephen said, in Great Britain and Ireland, the leap from point to point to under rules racing can sometimes be very narrow indeed. A good point to point horse is certainly more than capable of holding his own under sanction rules.
I like it. Okay, and we'll have a point-to-point in the Stable Duel app towards the end of the spring season. So these are good tips to listen to and info as well. So let's move on to race 2 while we're at it. Let me find this over here. So race 2, post time is 2:05. Again, you can watch this on nationalsteeplechase.com, which is the NSA's website. They have a live stream there, which is free for you to watch. So check this out on Saturday. You'll also see My Ladies Manor there as well. But we're looking at another maiden here, maiden special weight 30,000. We've got 6 horses in this race, and here they are. Let's start with Craig on this one. Craig, who do you like here and why?
Well, I'm probably going to upset Stephen a bit here. I do not have Agitair in my top 3 here, and it's not. I know. It's not because I don't think the horse is actually good. I do think the horse is good, but if I was playing like Stable Duel here, I think everyone would have Agitair in their stable. So I'm going to look here in a race where I don't think there'll be a great deal of early pace. I'm going to go for the number 4, Talk or Listen. I think Jamie Bargery is going to settle the horse down in 2nd or 3rd early, like it did at Camden a couple of weeks ago. Although it was well beaten 3rd on that occasion, it was the best of the rest. And although we haven't seen how the form of that race has worked out yet, it is a key race because later in the afternoon, the winner of that race at Camden, Lumberjack, will be racing here at Tryon. So if Talk or Listen runs well in race number 2 at Tryon on Saturday, that may be a good sign for Lumberjack, who I think is number 7 in race 4 later in the day. But number 1, Beat Le Bon, will be my second pick, making his 2023 debut, a second at Aiken in a 30,000 maiden special weight to round off 2022. And the number 3, Eagerly, interests me with Tom Garner on board, and Tom was on board this horse at the back end of last year when it ran at Montpellier. It's still a learning experience for Eagerly. I'm also kind of interested in Richard Boucher at number 6, Carl Timothy, who's only made a 1 start, and that was at Aiken on opening day this year. Coming back already for his 2nd race, was 3rd on career debut last time, may have some improvement. But I have to admit, they have all got to be Agitair, who has a top jockey, top trainer, gathers some of the ownership, are pretty decent folks as well. So let's see what Stephen says.
Craig's trying to butter this up right now after his opening line. Good move, Craig. Good move. All right, Steve, what do you got?
So I look at this race as a 2-horse race. I own Agitair with Paul and Jimmy and Chris. Agitair ran at Far Hills at the Grand National Meet. He ran in the flat race though. He pulled Bernie Dalton's arms out the entire way, and yet somehow he still had something left. So he won a $100,000 flat race at Far Hills, and then we sent him down to the Grade 3 race down at Gulfstream, and he hated the starting gates. Reared up at the start, was basically, I didn't have a chance after that. So we bought him to run over the jumps. So this is his first effort. So he's a classy horse. So we think if he takes the jump racing, we think he's got a real shot in here. My concern would be Beat Le Bon. Going back point to point, Beat Le Bon won a point to point by a fence last year. So he was probably 100 lengths ahead. He fell in his first ever hurdle race, but he ran a really good effort behind Topic Changer last time out. And the third horse, which Craig just brought up, was actually Lumberjack. So Beat Le Bon's got some really good form. Agitair's got some really good form. The one knock about both of them is they both like to go to the front. So these two could be going at it early, unless Parker can sort of wrangle Agitair back. So it'll be a fascinating race to see these two go at it. And then if they burn each other out, then, you know, there's a good chance Eagle could pick up the pieces for Tom Gordon. But I see it as a 2-horse race on paper. And obviously we're pulling for the 5.
This is exciting. I like to hear. So 2 miles here, 4-year-olds and up. You can see we've got 7-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7. We have 1 4-year-old here. The outside, well, I guess it's not even outside post here. I got to change my link. Relativity. But exciting race. Good luck, Steve. Yeah, I'm excited to watch. All right, let's move to race number 3. So 240. This one is a claiming race for 20,000. 4-year-olds and up as well. We're looking at 2 miles here, and we have 4 horses here. So 6, 5, 5-year-olds. What do we got of the mix of 4? I've got one off the name, but sometimes that does me well and bad. So what do we got? Let's start with you, Steve.
I'm pulling for Sandra here with Season the Dream. Last time he ran last time out for Sandra and won by 14 lengths, and he just hacked up that day. I just think if he repeats that effort, I think he's got a real good chance in here. Top Brass chased home Molly's Fantasy, which is another good Kerry Bryan horse, who's actually the top weight in the next race, the Ratings Hurdle. So I like Top Brass to be in there. In 301, who actually took a pretty hard fall last time, and dumped Mel Boucher. I think you were calling the race, actually, Craig. But I think if he comes back, he'll be fitter and stronger for that race. So I'm pulling for Season the Dream. I think it is wide open again, though. Any of these 4 horses could win the race.
Craig, what about you?
So I think there's a couple of things here we need to look at before we even analyze a race. This is more than just a claiming race. This is a conditioned claiming hurdle. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're a follower of flat thoroughbred racing and you watch FanDuel TV earlier in the week when I'm calling it Turf Paradise, you often hear myself and the hosts break down the conditions of a race. Now, when we say the conditions, what we mean are the criteria that horses have to meet to be able to enter and be eligible for this race. Now, there is one condition here. It isn't like an open class race. And the condition book reads for 4-year-olds and upwards, which have never won 2 races. Now, when we say 2 races, what we mean here are 2 sanctioned NSA races. So that's worth keeping in mind. Going back to a number 1, 301, the horse was weakening when it fell at Aiken 3 weeks ago. Yes, sir. Yeah, ma'am, sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Back from Brie to Bro, so I go by all things. So for non-winners of 2 races, is that what if they've won 2 flat races? Does it matter?
Nope. Not under these conditions, anyway. Not the way how this race is set up.
All right, continue. Sorry about that. Wanted to know.
No problem. So I was watching the video of a number 1, 301 last night at Aiken from 3 weeks ago. Tony Bentley was calling it Aiken. I came on board the next week at Camden. And the horse made a lot of the early running. It was a fair-sized field for an early season race, and no one really wanted to go out and make the pace. And the horse just tired himself out, fell when weakening. It was a little bit of a heavy fall, it has to be said. And although 301's jumping has always been very good, and it's a horse who likes to bowl along in front, I'm just wondering if maybe the horse has come back a little bit too soon. I'm going to look here at Leslie Young's number 3 horse, Top Brass. who was a winner at Middleburg last October at the International Gold Cup races. And not at the Middleburg 4 races. Then he went over to the Junior International Gold Cup races and finished third in a 20,000 allowance optional claimer. If the horse can bounce back and is in good shape, and there's no reason to think that Leslie Young wouldn't bring a horse down here who isn't in good shape, I think Top Brass, a former UK import, could take the money here. But number 2, Seizing the Dream, would be my second pick. Barry Foley on board. This horse rounded off 2022 Royal win at Pine Mountain. We were talking with Sandra early on how Pine Mountain in Georgia is a similar track layout and configuration to Tryon in North Carolina, so the course should suit number 2, Seizing the Dream. And then the number 4, Captain Middleton, will be my third pick, a winner at the Steeplechase of Charleston last November and was 6 at Aiken on his 2023 debut 3 weeks ago. And of course, that was a race where 301 fell at the final fence when already beaten. So 3-2-4 for me in the third.
Okay, I like it. All right, we'll see what happens in that one. Exciting stuff. Let's move to the next one here. We've got 2 more to cover, and I know that we're closing in on the hour, so we'll hit these quick, and I will show you the entries for My Ladies Manor, and then we will wrap this up. So race 4, we're looking at a handicap here, $30,000 4-year-olds and up, which are rated 120. We talked about ratings the last time we covered this, so actually, I did have a question as we come into this race. Do you think that weight is more substantial? Do you think it matters more in jump racing than it does in the flat? So when we look at the weight that the horses carry, do you think that that number matters more in jump racing over flat racing? The same, not less? What's your opinion there, Steve?
I just find that in jump racing you have more handicaps. It's not really you don't have a lot of handicaps in flat racing. Mm-hmm. So I think it does matter. If you look at this race, Molly's Fantasy, which is the only mare in the race, is actually the top weight. And normally mares are receiving weight from in races like this. So, Molly's Fantasy has a lot to do in this race for Parker. So, I'd say yes, especially when they go on the distance of ground. I think, like we're talking about the Grand National tomorrow, trying to carry top weight in the Grand National is a tough task over 4 miles.
Now, why does the mare carry more weight? She's rated higher?
She's rated higher, yes, because it's a handicap. Yeah, exactly.
Girl power.
There you go, Bree. Now we're getting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the only mare in the race.
And look, it's Topical Changer.
There you go. He's back.
All right, Craig, who do we like in this one? Give me your top 3.
Top 3 here. Number 7, Lumberjack, is mine and Ricky Blind Dog's best bet of the day. We already talked about how another horse could justify the form from its last start at Camden a couple of weeks ago. Leslie Young trains Mikey Hamill, has the ride. But number 2, Jimmy P.
Craig, who did he beat last time out? Did you notice?
He beat Undercover Rowdy and Talk or Listen.
On the nose, on the wire. Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah.
You called that race, yeah?
I did call that race, yeah, I did. I did. It was my fault.
Yeah, I totally you. 100%.
Craig, move the wire. The wire.
No. After the race, I went down to the winner's circle and congratulated the winner. And Undercover Rowdy said to me, and I said, not a word of a lie. He said, Craig, if that nice Tony Bentley had been calling the race, I would have won.
You would have won.
But your voice put me off.
I agree.
Yeah, in fact, there you go. Straight from the horse's mouth. No, 7-2-1 for me. And in this race, with the firm track conditions and there only being a 7-pound weight spread, I don't think the weight differential will make too much difference.
Okay. Good to know, because I'm cheering Molly Fantasy on, so that's my cheer horse right there. All right, Steve, who you on?
So this to me is NSA jump racing at its this is NSA jump racing. I did a little study because I'm very nerdy. The last 30 races in the NSA, 75% of them have been won by Jack Fisher, Leslie Young, or Kerry Bryan. And if you look at the race, the big race tomorrow, Kerry has 3, Leslie has 2, and Jack has 2. So this is the NSA jump racing at the moment. I'm going for a Kerry Bryan first, a Leslie Young second. I'm going for topic changer. Bree's favorite horse. I think he's just going to. I think Barry's going to ride him a little bit more aggressively this time, and I think he was the 4-year-old champion last year. As a 3-year-old, he was the 3-year-old champion. So I'm going to give him one more chance to go out there and win this race. So topic changer for me, the 8 horse.
Well, we've got to say good luck to the connections on that one because they all came on the live stream during a dinner party, mind you, last week. Was it last week? No, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, which was fantastic. And actually some of the best insight to horse racing I've heard in a very, very long time. And I've heard a lot of insight to horse racing because there's a lot of opinions on social media, surprising. But anyways, so good luck to topic changers, connections on that one. We'll be cheering for you as well. So, all right. Anybody else in that one, Steve?
No, I've got topic changer to be Top Brass is in the second place.
All right. Let's move on to the last, and we'll hit this one real fast because it's pretty short. Race 5. This is an allowance here for 3-year-olds and up. So this says purse 0. So is this kind of a
training race? Yeah, training race.
All right. So we have 3 horses here. Dante's Fire, Laura de Rose. I'm going to say it in French. De Rosette and Circus. Craig, who's your favorite? Give me one.
Number 1, Dante's Fire. Most experienced horse in the race, should win this.
Steve?
Again, darts time. Who knows what his trainer's trying to achieve when they're running in these races. So it's anyone's race.
Okay. Here we go, Carrie. I love good sports, and Carrie is definitely a good sport. So, all right. If you are looking for entries for any of these races, I can tell you the best place to go is the NSA website, which you can see right here. So nationalsteeplechase.com. If you hit racing, you can see all the races right here, and they load the entries, and then the results eventually come as well. So I did this. I literally just did that, what I just talked through. And here is my Ladies Manor, which is the other jump race meet happening on Saturday as well. And these are the timber races. So these are not the brush fences that we are covering in Tryon. These are the timber races here. So take a look at that. Watch the live stream. We won't go through this because we're already, hitting to 8 o'clock here. But if you want, have any questions and you're tuning it up, Craig and Steve on Twitter. So USA Steeplechase is where you can find Steve. And Craig is under Calls Races.
Yeah, at Calls the Races.
At Calls the Races. So hit both of them up on Twitter if you have any questions or you want to go back and forth on horses for this weekend. But those are the races that are offered for the National Steeplechase Association. Pretty exciting. Again, go to the website. Actually, let me just show you. I'm going to make this really easy, guys. Okay, so you're here on the website, and then look, boom, red button turns blue. Watch live racing here, and there it is. Just like that. You can tune into the jump races this weekend, so we'll make that really easy for you.
Bree, just going to throw out one. Vintage Vinny, which is running in the Maryland, in the My Ladies Manor Cup tomorrow, won the Maryland Cup by 96 lengths 2 years ago.
Holy Vintage Vinny, where are you here?
He won the Maryland.
There we are.
Yeah, in the first race. He won the Maryland Hunt Cup by 54 lengths in 2022, and by 96. He won a race by 96 lengths in 2021.
I actually think that I have a picture of this guy. Look at that.
Yep. I was asked to call that race remotely for the NSA. And I mean, talk about only one horse in the picture for most of the race. At one time, he must have been at least a quarter of a mile ahead of his rivals.
That's insane.
At least.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's when you have to like show him. That's the dual screens that all the guys want in their house.
Yeah, no kidding. That would have helped a great deal.
We lost you. We lost you for a second there. All right, guys. I think that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in, Vintage Vinny. Oh, yeah, here we go. See, he's right there with you, Steve. Dropping the knowledge. I love it.
There we go. Yeah.
Harrison, good luck to you as well. Thanks, everybody, so much for tuning in. So, besides this weekend, the weekend next and the weekend after that, and after that, and after that, we have stable duel contests at all the meets coming up. So, Middleburg is next weekend in Virginia. I will be in attendance with a few others, and we will be having a live show from the races. We will still do our live stream Friday night, but make sure you tune into the live show and tune into the live stream. Lots of things this year for jump racing. Very exciting. And then the week after that is Foxfield. So 22nd, 29th, we've got stable duel contests, free to play, $2,000 in prizes. If you haven't downloaded the stable duel app, feel free. Those games won't be loaded until the entries come out, which is usually the Wednesday ahead of the race, in case that is confusing. Wednesday ahead of the race, but you can tune in. There are other free games in there, or you can play thoroughbred flat racing and get ready and get your strategy so you understand what's going on so that you win the $500 top spot of these jump races, jump into racing. Oh, and you know what? I had one other thing, but it's not here. The jump into racing t-shirts. I have them. I know it's too far away. I'm not going to go get it, but there's a giveaway on Twitter right now. If you'd like to win a jump into racing, go to Stable Duels Twitter, retweet, follow NSA, do all the things that's in that post. We're going to pick one account before tomorrow at a certain time. It's in the post to win a t-shirt. We'll also put them up on the Stable Duel website if you just want to purchase them. Or if you're at some of these meets that Stable Duel is at, we may have t-shirts to give away as long as you show us that you have the Stable Duel app in hand. So pretty easy, lots of ways to win, purchase whatever you want to do. Great t-shirts. And maybe I'll send one of you two one since you're coming on this thing and hanging out with me for so long.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
I agree. By the way, I'm really looking forward to working with you next week at Middleburg with this new expanded show we're having. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, I'm Tryon this week, Middleburg next week, and Foxfield, Virginia Gold Cup. Great time to be around jumps racing here in the U.S.
It is. And actually, is this true? This might be true. I'm kind of ashamed. It might be my first jump race I've ever seen.
Woohoo!
I know that there used to be one that came to Kentucky, but I never was here for it. And then the one that Iroquois usually is it's either on Preakness Day for flat racing, but this year it's not. So I'm definitely going. But yeah, so I'm gonna be a jump race virgin no more. We're getting there.
Tune into the National tomorrow.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
12:15.
100%. Yeah,
all right, guys. Very good. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.